Hello everybody and welcome to my very first guide. This is a Lich Werewolf Wyvern hybrid build. It is very strong. Right now I'm kind of wearing OP gear, but you don't need this OP gear to make this build work. It melts bosses. It's really good for bossing, and I'm very excited to bring this build to you guys. First thing I want to talk about is Lich has the low life to abuse. Now, by low life, for those that don't know, thanks to the ascendancy of Lich, your life cannot change while you have energy shield. We go down to 1 life and then activate our energy shield, and it cannot be changed. This gives us immunity to poison and to bleed. And on top of that, it allows us to abuse Dire Strike, which gives us there's 2 Dire Strikes. There's Dire Strike 1 and 2. Dire Strike 1 gives us 50% increased damage while on low life, and Dire Strike 2 gives us another 70%. So this is 120% flat increased damage. Just from having these. They cost spirit, so this entire build needs 150 spirit. It's kind of expensive. But it's really strong. Another thing is that because your life cannot change, you can abuse Berserk, which says lose 0.1% of maximum life per rage per second while not losing rage. And it increases the effect of rage. What rage does is per point of rage we get 1% more attack damage. And because it's increased to this, we gain a lot of damage by stacking rage. Now we stack rage through primal rage anointment. It gives us 12 rage. I'm also using this belt. It's a Darkness Enthroned for helmet. You can socket in the socket for 4 more rage, which will give you, depending on how hard it scales, up to like 8 maximum rage. And I'm also using, as a second thing, cooldown recovery and skill effect duration, but more to this later. I'm also using Death Articulated because it gives us 5 rage per second, and we lose 5% of maximum life per second, but that doesn't bother us because we're Lich, so we lose nothing. It's a very crazy tech because this way we don't require any rage support gems to generate rage. We just passively generate it. If you cannot afford these gloves, the build still works. You can use regular rare with attack speed and added damage to attacks, and you can also use, if you fancy it, Hate Forged. Now these are very tricky to get. They can only drop in Trial of Chaos. And usually they have a mod that says lose all rage on hitting maximum rage. However, with Vault Cultivation Orb you can get rid of that. I removed it, and it added attack speed, which is the most important, one of the most important stats we need. Unfortunately, when I corrupted it, it re-rolled my maximum rage, and it went from +10 to -6, which is why I'm not using them right now. If these gloves had +10, I would use them over the Death Articulated, because +10 rage is a lot of damage we gain, and it scales on many levels, but I will explain everything step by step. Now, one thing to note is that Flame Breath deals a lot of damage, especially if it's empowered. And because we start in the middle part of the tree, we can easily go Evasion, Energy Shield, and we can grab Resonance. Resonance makes it so that we get a power charge every time we would get a Frenzy charge. And thanks to Combat Frenzy, we gain a Frenzy charge every time we freeze a target, which is where the werewolf comes in. Like, most of the attacks of the werewolf are either cold or physical cold. Because you have a very high freeze up, you freeze bosses very quickly, and then you gain the Power Charge, which empowers the Flame Breath, and this opens up a lot of possibilities, because even if a boss has like a very high cold resistance or a lot of armor, you can swap it up with Flame Breath, and this way you can literally kill anything in the game, and you can bypass any sort of damage resistance. The cool part about this is as well that Flame Breath has Fire Penetration 2. It's the only elemental that has like Penetration 2, and this completely ignores fire resistance, so you don't even need Rekiata's Flow. Of course, having Rekiata's Flow would be even crazier, because this gains 50% of its damage as lightning damage if it's empowered. However, if you can't afford it, or if it's early in the league or anything, you don't need it, and this will still do a huge amount of damage. As you can see right now, the damage of it is at 328k because of my rage, but there's a lot of damage you don't see, which you gain from other sources, which I will explain now.
You just gonna stand around all day?
We have a lot to cover in this guide, so I'll try to keep it brief. We gain a lot of damage from elemental ailments. We play with Stormbreaker and we play with Harness the Elements, and both nodes do the exact same thing. They give us 20% increased damage for each type of elemental ailment on an enemy. The cool part about this is that Chill and Freeze are two separate elemental ailments. We also apply Shock and we also Ignite. Therefore, in an optimal scenario, we get up to 160% increased damage just from elemental ailments that we automatically apply by pressing our buttons. Now, there is an argument to be made to get these three nodes. I'm testing this on my Pathfinder Werewolf, for which I will do a guide as well. These would get 90% more damage over 80%, but it's like more conditional. But let's stay on track. So these two nodes give us 160% increased damage. Now the question is, how do we apply all ailments? First, you have to know we play Pounce with Freezing Mark. Freezing Mark is crazy strong. It applies a mark that increases the freeze build-up significantly, and it also triggers as soon as you reach the prime for freeze. That means on unique mobs like bosses, as soon as the mob reaches 70% freeze build-up, the mark will trigger and freeze the enemy, ignoring the remaining 30%, making it much faster to freeze. On top of it, as soon as the mark triggers, it grants you a buff that gives you 30% of damage gained as cold damage. We pair this with Beter's Vengeance, because as soon as the mark triggers, Beter's Vengeance will give us 1% increased extra cold damage for each rage that we have. So a total, in my case, of 60%. So these two right now give me 90% increased damage as gained as cold damage, which is straight up bonkers. On top of it, as soon as the mark triggers, Charge Mark will trigger and will create shocked ground. So therefore, we also shock. Additionally, we have Mark for Death for Armor Break and Eternal Mark, so that even afterwards the Armor Break stays on and just keeps shredding its armor. We have this because certain mobs are like very resistant to physical damage, and this build does a little bit of everything except even chaos damage. Like, this build does every sort of damage. It does chaos damage, elemental damage, and physical damage all over the place. It's kind of crazy, but it works, and it's a lot of fun to play. So the opening of this build is, either way, before the boss fight starts, you use Lunar Blessing. Lunar Blessing will also give us 65% of damage gained as cold damage. So we're stacking up a lot of damage sources. And because we are getting more cold damage, we also freeze faster with our damage. Then as soon as you have Lunar Blessing up and the boss is targetable, you pounce on him, apply the mark, and you start spamming your Lunar Assault. Now, Lunar Assault is like your freeze build up attack. It has also more freeze build up, attack speed, and a lot of damage. And as soon as the target freezes, you have two options. You can either shred into cross slash combo, or you can just fry him alive. It depends on the fight and on everything that you do, and on the boss. Like some bosses again are very cold resistant or are fire resistant. It's also like positioning and all the or whatever you prefer, but both works. For mapping, I generally recommend like shred into cross slash, single target boss. This probably does more damage. Now, shred is interesting because shred is as well physical as well as cold. What shred does is every time you hit an opponent with one of your fast attacks, you create ice crystal that explode after a short time. Now we put in long fuse, so it takes longer for them to explode, but they deal more damage. Now here's the trick. Cross slash will drag all the shards into the middle point there and detonate them instantly. So you just create a lot of shards and then detonate them and deal a huge amount of damage. And this is one of the reasons why you like stacking a lot of damage sources and then as much attack speed as possible, because the more shreds you do while an enemy is frozen, the more damage it takes. Because we are running thin ice and it makes it 50% increased damage with hits against frozen enemies. So another source of damage that we're just piling on top of everything else. In addition to thin ice, we also play heavy frost, which gives us even more freeze build up and elemental hits ignore non-negative elemental resistance of frozen enemies. Now the problem is freezing the enemies usually. Like for example, Olroth is very rough to freeze because he has very high cold resistance. I had another werewolf that sadly died because I was a moron, but I tried Uber Arbiter and died. I just misplayed and died. But my other werewolf was running Tool Stillness on Lunar Assault. It's very, very expensive, but Tool Stillness essentially chaos damage from hits with supported skill also contribute to freeze build up. Supported skill gains 40% of cold damage as extra chaos damage. Now this is particularly crazy on Lich because we're running Unholy Might, which gives us an additional additionally 30% extra chaos damage. So with Tool Stillness at 70%, and because the chaos damage is hitting, he like over freezes extremely quick. But yeah, in general, like all the Exest lineages are very strong in combination with Unholy Might. I will also showcase a little boss fight or a couple of boss fights later on. Now this is the most important part of the damage. I mean, Resonance I talked about, it's to create frenzy charges. We're running Killer Instinct for 60% more damage while on low life, and we try to get as many attack speed nodes as we can because they are very valuable. Now let's talk defensives. My build right now is 53% evasion. I have 19% deflection rating and yeah, so and I'm running 10k energy shield. Now to accomplish this, you don't need to invest too much into evasion. It's kind of crazy. We grab all the necessary energy shield nodes, the classics, Patient Barrier, Enhanced Barrier, Illuminated Crown, and Heavy Buffer. We also get Melding and the Start 1 Dampening Shield, of course. On top of that, we have Subterfuge Mask, which is just broken because it gives us evasion per energy shield on helmet, and it pairs really well with Illuminated Crown. And we get the classical evasion nodes down here for deflection and flat evasion. Also very important is Spectral Ward, because we're running a Sleek Jacket. Sleek Jacket, best thing in the game. Fucking everything else is not even getting close. We try to run as high as possible flat percentage and flat percentage hybrid. Hybrid with life is not very good, so if possible, don't play that. Get as much not stun threshold, sorry, resistances on it. Stun threshold is very nice though. And try to get deflection is a good roll as well, you know, like the classic defensive rolls. The rest pretty much is energy shield. We have energy shield boots, we have energy shield helmet. On the amulet, you want 50 spirit if possible. You want global defenses because you are running hybrid, and either evasion, deflection, energy shield percentage, or energy shield flat. +3 to melee skills if possible. +2 is good enough as well though. And then the rest is just whatever you need to make it work. Now, because we are playing a weapon that requires strength and intelligence, and gear that requires intelligence and dexterity, we have to kind of balance our stats around a little bit. So make sure to get some intelligence or dexterity on your gear as well, or strength, so that you have enough attributes to wear all the gear you need. On rings are really cool for this build because the increased attack damage while on low life is a guaranteed roll if you use a preserved collarbone in combination with the omen. It's called, let me check, excuse me, yeah, Omen of the Sovereign. This is increased attack damage while on low life is the only Ulaman modifier on rings that can roll on prefixes. So if you put it on prefix with this omen and you use this with a collarbone on a ring, you will 100% always get this roll, which makes it easier to craft strong rings. As you can see, I have very, very strong rings. Another thing that's kind of important, especially for boss fights, is mana leech through physical damage, because you do a lot of physical damage, and I put also extra physical damage on my weapon to get that mana leech running. Now, you want flat physical and percentage physical on the weapon, extra physical damage on weapon, if possible some mana leech or attack speed or both optimally. And you want, if possible, a Machi talisman for the extra rage, because this gives us 11 rage. It can go from, what is it, 8 to 12. Yeah, so it's free rage. It's really good on Lich. You want to have this. In terms of boots, nothing special. Yeah, so this is the gear section. You want, of course, Thawing Charm, Stone Charm, and Grounding Charm. And yeah, that's it. If you're not running Death Articulated, this potion is especially good because you can prevent the rage, the loss of rage in between phases and stuff. So you can like set up better Lunar Blessings. Now, in terms of Lunar Blessing, that's very important to talk about as well. Lunar Blessing has a very low duration. Baseline duration. So as you can see, buff duration is 5 seconds, plus 0.2 seconds per rage spent. So the more rage it consumes, the longer it holds. However, you can scale this with skill effect duration, which is why I put on weapon set 2 a lot of skill effect duration. There's also skill effect duration here, 16%. Then this is a lot, and I also got some on my belt, and also cooldown recovery rate, just to have it off cooldown quicker. And yeah, I'm running prolonged duration on it. I'm running efficiency on it because it's kind of expensive to pop, and you don't want to go out of mana instantly. Rapid attacks is actually really nice because the moonbeams that come down attack faster if you have a rapid attack on it. Second wind for a second charge and cooldown recovery. Now we have Lunar Blessing and Pounce on weapon set 2 because the marks and the shock ground also profit from the extended from the skill effect duration. And on weapon set 1, we have all the damage we can get. As you can see, this is red, this is red, this is all the weapon set 1. Also very important is for boss fights, in my opinion, is faster start of energy shield and energy shield recharge rate. As you can see, my energy shield starts recharging after 1.82 seconds and regenerates 2.3k energy shield per second. So while fighting a boss, most of the time you can just step away for a second and then get the recharge going and then go in again. But in case everything goes, like when shit hits the fan, you can still use convalescence. And you want to have convalescence anyway for the Dire Strike. If you feel fancy, you can also instead play Wind Dancer. But I would recommend convalescence because you usually have enough evasion with 53%, and having this oh shit button to save you is just very, very strong. Now, another sweet little detail about shapeshifting is that all forms have inherited effects that make you stronger. Or better. Yeah, here we go. Werewolf. After a while, Werewolf gains 30% increased movement speed when not sprinting. So, as you can see, as soon as the Werewolf goes on all four, it's 30% more movement speed. This is really, really good in, for example, Arbiter, right? Because Arbiter has some phases where like you have a lot of stuff happening and you have to move around quickly. And you also have the Wyvern form, which is really crazy. While in Wyvern form, you have 50% increased stun threshold, 50% increased ailment threshold, and 50% faster start of energy shield recharge rate. So in Wyvern form, it goes down to 1.48 seconds. So, this is really good because if you take damage while, like, you are hard to stun while using your breath, or to freeze, and also you start regenerating your energy shield faster. Now, Flame Breath is also an ability that has extended duration by consuming rage, which is really cool. So the rage, as soon as we start the Flame Breath, for the first 3 seconds it doesn't consume any rage, and then it slowly drains your rage, and you lose damage the more rage you lose, right? Because we scale a lot of damage with rage. However, it's still more than enough. Like, the burst of this ability is just crazy. Now, what is important to know about this ability is that you are stuck in the animation for a while before you can interrupt it. So as soon as you press the button, for 3 seconds you are locked in the animation. And this is dangerous because if you want to dodge something, like let's say Arbiter does a phase and you want to dodge something, you're stuck in the animation. However, Cross Slash comes in clutch here because Cross Slash says this skill can be used while using other skills to interrupt them. So in case you start this and think, oh fuck, there is now a phase I have to move, you can just Cross Slash and get out of it instantly. And even better, you are instantly in werewolf form, therefore you gain the 30% increased movement speed and it makes it easier to dodge stuff. Yeah, so this is basically the summary of my build. I will upload my character in the video description so you can check out all the gems. But there's an honorable mention I want to make. Execute is of course really crazy, as most of the low life players know. It's flat 30% increased, more damage, not increased, more damage while you are on low life. And if the target is also on 30 or less life, it's another additional 30% more, so 60% more damage as soon as the enemy is on low life. And Clash is something that is not talked about enough, and that's the reason why we are at exactly 1 life. Supported skill deals 40% more melee damage against enemies with a higher percentage of life remaining than you, but deal 20% less melee damage against enemies with lower percentage of their life remaining than you. Because we are at exactly 1 life, it's almost impossible that we will ever have a higher percentage than the enemy. and therefore it's free 40% more damage, which by the way is not calculated here. If I take this out, you see this? It doesn't change the damage of my shred. It stays at 87,000. But this damage is here. It just doesn't calculate in the sheet because it's conditional to the life of your enemy. And this is crazy strong. So you can play this in Clash. You can play this you can play Clash in Shred. You can play it in Lunar Assault, in Cross Slash. It doesn't work in Flame Breath though. However, it's like still really, really, really good. And attack speed is also crazy good, right?
Doing well.
In Flame Breath, you want the rapid attacks because the ticks are like you have more attacks in the same time. So it ticks per second, it does more damage, it's crazy. Yeah, but this summarizes my build all in all, I think. If you have questions, it's the very first time I showcase a build. It's the very first time I talk about a build like this. But yeah, leave your comments and your opinions on the build. I'm very excited to hear them. And thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, guys. Oh, and yeah, I forgot to mention, this entire thing is on a hardcore character, right? So this guide is made for hardcore, but it will also work in softcore. In softcore, you could probably make it even more broken by sacrificing resistances or whatnot, but I play only hardcore, so yeah. I made this character to actually kill Arbiter on hardcore. With that said, I will show you now a few bosses, and you can see how my build performs. Have fun. The first boss I want to showcase is the worst one to do as Werewolf, because King of the Mist is just not friendly for melees. It's just 8 to play King of the Mist as a melee. So what we do first is trigger the fight, go into wolf form, Lunar Blessing I mean, dodge this.
I need more time.
Freeze. And now we just burn him. Because now we have the power charge, this attack is empowered. And this is phase 1. Now he's gonna send us into the labyrinth.
A cute trick, but a stall at best.
Cannot help you here.
As per usual, just follow the wisps. Probably down here. There we go. And now second phase is really a nightmare for us as Werewolf. There's so much stuff that's just in the face of a melee character here, but you know, it works. You just start the freeze build up. You dodge this. Here we stay in motion, not to get stunned. Now we go in again and keep freezing him, and now we can do our combo. I got stunned. Here we press. Yeah, it's a really bad boss for melee. Probably a bad example of what this character can do because of how this boss works. We dodge again. See, this is all in melee range all the time. The Hurricane is also constantly following us around, right? But yeah, now I killed him with the combo. We just did this combo here. Oh, cool! It from nothing. Alright, another boss I want to talk about is Kulamak. So this boss is buggy for Werewolf. As in, you can freeze him, but pounce, like freezing mark, doesn't work on him. And even if you freeze him and you shred him, there are no crystals spawning. So if you were pure Werewolf, you couldn't farm this boss. You would most likely die. The reason for is you lose like a third of your damage without this combo, and I was really like pissed at the beginning that this bug was in the game. I even reported it, but so far nothing happened. But then I figured out my tech with Flame Breath, and now I can farm this boss very easily. The thing about Kulamak is he freezes really fast. You will see. And as soon as he freezes again, we gain the power charge. Power charge empowers our flame breath, and it's over.
Serve me, vessel of hate. The will sees you.
So as you can see, this boss is really easy with this build. I mean, granted, I do a lot of damage because I already have really good gear. But I've done this boss even with like much worse gear. Like, there's no problem.
Serve me, vessel of hate. The will sees you. Hail before the power of death. Vision of endless hate.
That's it.
You exhaust my vessel for now.
Let's see what belt we got.
Brimming with dark.
It's shield again. Another chance shard. Alright, so the last boss I want to showcase here is Arbiter, the regular one, not
Three
Uber.
keys needed here.
I don't feel like ripping my character, and I'm a little bit nervous, so I think I would rip my character. Even this already is like kind of scary. Because you know, Arbiter can just kill your character, and on hardcore this is like, I feels bad because I invested like, I don't know, 300 divs into this character already, so this is like a very maxed out character already. But yeah.
You are too late.
Arbiter.
The fourth
Your
edict
purpose is
already
served.
burns for
Submit.
your world. Your affliction upon her will soon be erased.
Pity. There are no
Even
more
while
battles
slow,
left
like we
for
lost
you
a
to
lot of our
conquer.
attack damage because of the slow, but we still killed Arbiter in seconds. So yeah, once more, this is a very maxed out character, but to be honest, you don't need Death Articulated. You don't, yeah, like this weapon is also like really strong, but you can, it's very easy to craft. You don't need double tier 2 rolls. You can easily make this with like double tier 4 and yeah, it's like you don't need all this crazy gear for regular Arbiter. This character does a lot of damage, like genuinely a lot. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked it, please leave a like, give me your comments. If you have questions, feel free to ask them away. I'm starting this new journey, Path of Exile videos, because I want to make educational videos about hardcore in general. I love playing hardcore. And yeah, everything I do on my channel is on hardcore. So if you have questions, just feel free to ask them. Thanks for watching, and we see you.